This is our very first chapter chat of the new year. 2026 is a huge year, y'all. Not only do many of our chapters have exciting milestones, but it is 25 years since our inception. Impact 100 was launched in Cincinnati in 2001. It was conceived that summer. And we held our very first board meeting. That was a go, no go in the fall, because in between that summer when it was conceived, of course, the entire world changed on 9/11 of 2001. And so we at Impact 100 Global, and I can also say Impact 100 Cincinnati, is going to be celebrating 25 years all year long. And we'll have lots of fun ways to engage. But so happy anniversary to all of you chapters who have milestones this year. And if you want to put your milestones in the chat, that would be fantastic. We have some exciting things going on. You all, I hope, already know that we have launched something called Impact 100 Global Connect. And that is how you get behind the scenes. That's the login portion of our website. And you're able to access both community forums. These new forums are separated by subject matter. So in the old way, we had one forum and you could talk about anything. And so when it was time for you to go back and try to find something particular about member recruitment or engagement or what have you, it was a lot of digging. Now we have individual forums that cover each topic. So please check them out and subscribe. We want to hear from you, both your questions, but also your best practices and your solutions. Impact 100 Academy is also, you can also sign on for courses through Global Connect when you get into the Academy. We do have an ungated course that if you want to see what it's like, you can access it from our website on the chapters page. Is that right, Haley and Lori? Is it the chapters page? Yeah, I'm getting a nod. Good.
Model page.
And so that will help you to understand. Oh, you're saying the model. It was the model page.
It
Yeah.
is all about the model, so it is on that model page, and I can drop a link in the chat as well.
Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, like I said, it's on the model page. We are launching something new next week, and you are all invited. We are introducing Impact 100 Academy Live. And what we're talking about next week is all about women's health. We will have a panel discussion with the scientists and clinicians of the McGee Women's Research Institute. They are the oldest and largest women's health research institute in the world. Their CEO, Michael Anakin, will be the moderator, and we have three clinicians covering all the joys of aging, whether it's pelvic floor issues, other menopause issues, fertility, what to expect. It's the whole thing. This will be a very engaging conversation. As I said, you are welcome. It's free for you to join. And you will learn a lot. They will provide some information. You will have an opportunity to ask questions. And then the recording will be housed on our website under the Academy or it will be ungated first as a resource, meaning you don't have to log in to get to it. And then eventually it will move to the Academy. But if you can join us, it is January 20th. It starts at 3 p.m. Eastern time and will last for about an hour. And so things to look forward to. Any other initial announcements I'm missing? Lori or Haley, feel free to jump in. Okay. I'm not seeing anything, so Yay. First chapter chat of the year, and I got everything almost right. So we're off to a very fine start here, ladies. And gentlemen, there was a gentleman, but I don't see him. I know.
He's here.
Oh, there
Hi,
you are.
Solomon.
Hi, Solomon. Sorry, I lost you in the sea of little faces. I'm glad you're here. So, you all submitted some terrific questions, and as always, they were all over the map. And so, often what I do is I try to sort of group them by general subject matter. And then, if we have multiple questions that are asking, very similar questions, I just combine them together. So, the first thing I'm going to talk about is membership, because that definitely is what's on everyone's mind, at least to a large degree. And so we have had questions on everything from the most effective methods to recruit new members to, do we keep a rolling membership or a fixed membership deadline? What works best for engagement and retention. So I'm going to start with the very basics. When 25 years ago, when the Impact 100 model was designed, the order in which we do things was very, very intentional. And so when I think about how the Impact 100 cycle goes, in my head, I always imagine like a clock. And so to start off, hypothetically, if your membership recruiting always has to happen first. And then let's hypothetically say your membership deadline is December 31st. So it's sort of at the top of the 12-month clock. Then you would have your big reveal when you tell the world how many members you have, which translates to how much money you're giving away, which translates to how much each grant, prospective grantee will apply for, is about 3 weeks after the membership deadline. So in this case, call it January 21st. We choose it that way. The reason we have a deadline, and then the reason we wait a few weeks before the big reveal, is because the way the model is designed, 100% of your members' money should be divided by every 100 members, and each would fund a grant. So our first year, we had 123 members, and we announced it. Our first year calendar was different, so I'm not going to tell you about that, but we announced it so that all the nonprofits in the area would know that they're applying for $123,000. That's why we have a deadline. That's why it's before we get to work on vetting grant applications, because therefore any member who wants to get involved, even if they waited till the very last minute, and those of you who have gone through one grant cycle, you know that so many of our members feel like it's a contest to be the last check in the door by the deadline. And so we want all of our members to be able to have the opportunity to do grant review. It is, of all the committees you can join and all the volunteer efforts you can make, it is the most powerful way to really see what's happening in the community, who these nonprofit superheroes are, and what are they dreaming of? What are their big dreams to make the community a better place? Having the 3 weeks in between is because we all know that when we tell members what the deadline is, and it really doesn't matter what day you choose, you will tell them in every communication, every time you speak to anyone, every email, every social media post, here's your deadline, here's your deadline. But we all know sometimes to some members, the deadline means that's the day I'm going to write the check by hand. I'm going to put it in an envelope. And I may or may not make it to the post office that day, but my check's dated that day. It might take me a couple days before I actually mail it to you and then before you actually get it. So we have the room for that. We also have the room. Many chapters allow members to give monthly, quarterly, or in any kind of way. This 3 weeks is your ability to say to any of those givers who have been giving you monthly installments or quarterly installments, if they're not 100% paid, this is when you really want to aggressively get in touch and say, we really want to include you in our member count. We cannot do that unless you're paid in full. We need your last installment. It is also for those women who every time you see them, they say, oh, I'm definitely joining, or I'm definitely renewing this week. This year, I had such a great experience last year. I'm definitely coming back. And you don't see their payment. You don't, this is when the 3 weeks that you quietly go after those members and say, although the deadline has technically passed, I cannot imagine starting this year without your membership. Can I come to your house or office or school to pick up your payment? Or here is a link you can pay directly, or any of those other ways that we help our members to get connected. That for those of you who are hearing this and it might feel like, gosh, that's kind of pushy. We have really good experience in that for both those members who've told you or other members of your recruiting or membership committee that I'm in, and you don't bug them between the cutoff and the big reveal, they get mad at you. Like, you as an organization, maybe you personally also, but mostly they get mad at the organization. Like, I told them I was in and I didn't get to be in. The same thing is true with some of the monthly givers. So you are doing them a favor and you are doing you a favor. It's also used sometimes if hypothetically your goal was to reach 300 members this year and you're at like 295 or 293, and you're like, okay, board members, if each of us can bring in one more person, is there a friend, a sister, a neighbor, a colleague, like who should we? That sometimes also happens during this grace period. So that's kind of the logic behind it, is that it allows your members the maximum ability to be involved, and it allows your grantees to receive 100% of your membership donations in a transformational grant. So that is, that's really the how and why we do it. Now, I understand that not everyone operates on that cycle based on the unique characteristics of your community, but I think it's just a good opportunity for you all to understand sort of the why behind the how, is that we want everyone involved in their grant making. Now, shifting to membership recruitment, and I'm going to say recruitment and engagement or renewals, chapters who succeed in getting their members to re-up are chapters that grow their membership over time. It is such a key. We sometimes think that, oh, we've been around for a few years. They've been a member every year. I'm sure they're going to re-up. And sometimes as a chapter, when we're focused on growing, we start trying to find new people, which is important. But we also really have to make sure that we get our existing members to renew their membership. Some chapters divide it into two roles on your leadership team. member recruitment committee, member engagement committee, because the reason for the engagement is so that they feel connected to the mission and the work, and they will come back in another year. There are no one size fits all kind of events or secrets, if you will, um, to mastering either one of those things. But broadly, during your recruiting season, you want to make sure that you have what I refer to as public events. These might be events that are held at a venue that anyone can come to. These are events that you might put on the community calendar on your local television or radio station that often will have community calendars. This might be one where you might use a billboard to invite the entire community to certain of these meetings. I know that when Traverse City was launching, we were very lucky to get a newspaper article written about how Impact 100 worked. And in the article, we made sure to say, you know, you don't have to know anything about philanthropy. You don't have to know anyone on the leadership team. You just have to have a desire to pool your resources and help make this community a better place. And we had members, and no one could say, you know, as many of you have experienced, the reverse of those open invitations and big public events is that sometimes chapters can feel a little bit exclusive, like, oh, I didn't get invited to the event at so and so's home or at somebody's office or somebody's book club or whatever it may be. That's because we also need a balance of smaller, more personalized events that are a small group of people that might be, you know, someone's neighborhood or all the women in somebody's office or, you know, another kind of affinity group. You know, we often say that you want to be recruiting anywhere that women congregate. And so, again, it's putting yourself in the right place at the right time. Chapters sometimes will print all the public, whether you call them membership information events, meet and mingle, membership joining events, or simply Impact 100 events to learn about membership. They will print all the public ones and put them, you know, with permission, post them at places where women are. Sometimes it's up on a bulletin board at a local takeout place. Sometimes it's on the window of a local grocery store, hardware store. Sometimes it might be at your hair salon, or it might be at your OBGYN's office or any of those kinds of places where women would typically meet. And so you want a mix of those, and you want to make sure that, you know, it's nice if you can give some data about your chapter and about the global movement. I think that's nice. And I think people want to know it. But when you're talking to women about whether or not they want to join, the most compelling thing you can say is why you joined. You know, for a lot of chapters when they're first launching, they tell my story. They tell the origin story of Cincinnati. And that's not bad, you know, at all. That might be an important story that you may want to share even as your chapter grows. And the acknowledgement that you're not operating solo, that there's this network in 4 countries of Impact 100 organizations instills confidence in your community. But what's really powerful is to have different members who have already re-upped, whether they serve on your leadership team or a committee in a formal way or not, have a handful of people tell their why story. I joined because my $1,000 became $100,000, and I would never be able to do that on my own. Or I joined because I'm new in town and I wanted to meet great women and I also wanted to better understand my community. Um, I think that whatever your story is, it is the authentic story. And what I have found is that there is no one story that's more compelling or more special or more engaging. The key is to bring your authentic self, and make sure that both publicly and privately you allow time for dialogue, usually offering an incentive when women gather. If you join at this event, you could get your name drawn for a piece of logo gear or something like that. It might be, as part of the first founding 100, you'll get a certain kind of logo thing to everybody who joins in the first 100 or 200 or what have you. So all of these things are incentives. Now I'm going to pause and take a breath and say we've got a lot of chapters here that have had some very successful growth patterns and both retention and new members. So please, does anybody have best practices or secret sauce that you have found most effective? Seriously, you all? No one? Okay, well, I know you have them out there. So, um, if I'm not, oh, there. Thanks, Anne and Jen and Mary. Jen, were you also waving? Jen from Fairfield County. Were you also waving? Oh, but Kathleen is. Okay. Sorry, we're going to start with Anne, Mary. Now I forgot. Sorry, we'll go to all those hands raised. Let's kick it off.
So one of the things that we've done that's been tremendous has been to start a fellowship program where primarily current members are sponsoring members who don't have the funds to join, but are willing to do volunteer work. And last year we had 26 fellows. For this year, we're up to 20 fellows. So that has been enough to push us over our line of 400 members for the last 2 years, and we don't know what will happen this year yet. So that's been a big thing. And then another secret sauce thing I would say we do is we are relentless about following up with our prior year members, and we keep a spreadsheet, and it's color coded, and we send emails to everybody. But then about a week ago, we started texting people. And now I'm at the point with some of my people I haven't heard from that I'm calling them. And we call it No Member Left Behind. So,
Love that.
yeah.
Very good. Okay, Mary.
I posted in the chat an article, and I'll just echo what Anne said. We're doing a lot of those similar strategies as well here in Northwest Florida. But I posted an article, and I would encourage you to go copy, save that somewhere so you could read it later. Our marketing communications team was able to do an article in a local publication called Get the Coast. We don't really have an active newspaper anymore in our area. That's kind of gone by the wayside, but this is a primary means of communication, news communication. And a local business owner, a real estate developer who has a lot of employees, read the article. He was inspired by the article because it was so well written. Kudos to the marketing team. And he sponsored all of the women in his organization that wanted to join. And so we got, he paid for 29 employees, and then his CEO's wife also joined. So we got 30 members out of one article. Wham! That's high impact. I want to try to do that again this year. So, but it's a great story, and go and copy that down, put your own information in there, and get it out to any kind of a publication like that you can do in your market.
Awesome. Thank you. Good guidance. Okay, let's try this again. I know more of you had something to share. Either just start talking or raise your hand. Jen, and
Um,
then Kathleen.
Okay,
I
so
think we're going to get a little redundant at some point, but we have some scholarships and fellows, and I was going to say the corporate partnerships work well for us because you get bunches of women coming in together, which is really nice. Um, but something you said, Wendy, we have the biggest response when we start those individual emails, and we it's a little time intensive, and we try to think of like, oh, there's must be a better way. There is not a better way.
Yeah,
That's,
awesome.
that is the
Thank
best way.
you. Thank you. Kathleen?
okay, so I am one of those recipients of like work we call them sponsorships. We may have changed our word to fellowship. And uh so I have been a recipient of that. And this year I talked to my sons. So my son passed away 4 years ago, and I
I'm sorry.
participate because of my son's involvement in the community. And he was just 23, so I'm trying to do what he would have done and what I do. Anyway, so I was talking so much with his friends about what our chapter was doing. For my Christmas present, they have gathered together and given me my membership.
Oh, oh my gosh. I love
Yes,
everything about that. Oh,
yes, yes,
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's absolutely
So I
beautiful.
don't know if you
And
have
I'm so sorry for your
like a
loss.
new, if someone wants to, well, anyway, I don't even know how to advertise that.
Mhm.
It's a true blessing, true
Oh,
blessing.
oh my gosh. Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. That is very powerful. And it speaks to your why as well as your how.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah,
And I
that's
think
incredible. And the legacy of your son lives on through you.
Yes. Hmm.
and
Yeah.
I was just gonna say I think that's beautiful, and I'm so happy that you're able to participate and that the friend showed up like that. What I was gonna say more generally was that I think many chapters do a better job of trying to publicize the idea of giving the gift of impact and possibly sponsoring a family member or someone else in the community for members that are, that not only are participating themselves, but may want to share that gift of involvement with someone else. Again, either a family member or, men maybe that want to. We had in Atlanta, we just received a new member, and the husband had signed his wife up as a Christmas present. And we just got an email saying, "Can you please change the email address? I gave this as a gift for my wife this year." And I thought that's so great, but we could do a better job of sort of publicizing, I think, the idea of giving membership as a gift, because I do believe that it is a gift. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, excellent. And I will say to your point, Lori, there are several chapters that on their membership renewal or your first membership forms every year, it says, do you want to be a member at 1,000? Do you want to be 110% member at this amount? Do you want to be, do you want to sponsor another? Do you want to, there are all these levels that women do have options, so that for those of us who in our communities who might be well resourced and have the ability to help, I think it's critically important. So I thank you. We have covered a lot. Does anybody have anything different that you want to share about membership recruiting or retention? Okay, I'm not seeing. So I will move on, um, there was a question about social media engagement ideas and different chapters. I think for those of you who were in existence during COVID, it was really a crash course in engaging people on social media when we really couldn't be together in the traditional sense. And so there are ways to engage with depending on the purpose. So many chapters have Facebook groups that are members of that chapter. And there are some different ways to engage. It's where a bunch of announcements can be put in. There are chapters that do regular posts highlighting, telling the stories of different members that are made public because, of course, social media, you know, it can engage your members, but it can also have new people find you. And so, showing your diverse membership and telling the story of your diverse membership can be a very powerful tool. I would also say, anytime you have an event or anything, make sure that you're taking a lot of pictures. And so your social media and your website should be filled with real pictures of real events and real members. Many chapters might have started out with some stock photos or if you haven't refreshed your website in a while, or the person who does your website is not the same person who does your social media, you want to make sure that you take a look at that so that it always stays fresh and engaging. You also want to talk about the impact of your work. So focusing on, checking on those grantees, whether they were grantees from this current cycle, the most recent cycle, or whether it was from your very first grant. Sort of tell the story and remind the community, hey, together we did this thing and we gave this grant, and look at what's happening all of these years later. And I think that through those reminders, Impact 100 is designed to be women funding community, not necessarily women funding women and girls. And although sometimes our grants do go to women-led organizations and even women-facing organizations, but it's typically not a qualifier or disqualifier. And so being able to show a grant in the arts and culture category or in the environment, recreation, and preservation, we know health and wellness, education, and family typically get funded first. So until you've reached 500 members, it might be really hard to get those other two categories. But as you do, you want to consistently tell a story that we are funding transformation. That's the work that we do. And using language that doesn't look like, you're putting this up on your virtual refrigerator to be like, look how great we are. Here's my report card. Instead, you're inviting the community in and saying, it is because of this community that this change happened. If you want more change like this, if you want to be a part of something greater than yourself, we hope you'll join us. New members are always welcome. But I would say that sometimes sharing a story from another chapter, when you celebrate another chapter's milestone or another chapter's news story or success in some way, especially as a newer, more startup chapter, the message is, hey, local community, don't you want to make an impact like this? Please join us on these days to learn more about the Impact 100 model and how it works. I mean, it's that sort of thing. The more active you can do, many chapters will do video interviews. many chapters, and I think it's to some degree has to be somewhat reliant on how stage ready your local president is. But we've got chapters that do weekly president pop-ins, and it's a video message telling everyone who gets it, like, here's where we are in our cycle. Here's what we need you to do. If you're interested in this, do that. It's a wonderful kind of state of the union. And video is often more engaging than just a still picture. So if it's not your president, it could be somebody from your membership team. It could be a grantee telling a story, but think about ways that will catch the attention and spread the word and inviting people to be in. If you are lucky enough to get a newspaper article or a newspaper interview like Northwest Florida has, in that case, they actually wrote it and placed it. But often we don't get quite that lucky, and it's an interview. At the end of almost every interview, it doesn't matter if it's radio, if it's television, if it's some other form of written media, almost every host will say, so, Kathleen, is there anything else you want the listening audience to know? Or is there anything else our viewers should understand? And that's where you have to have your soundbite that says, you don't have to know anybody special. You don't have to have any special skills. You just have to have a desire to make this community a better place. They can contact impact100jerseycoast.org and learn more. Like, you want to control, you cannot control what they write or what they say or the questions that they ask, but you want to go into every media opportunity with the sound bites you want to say. And those of us who grew up with this, we must be polite and we must not hijack the conversation. It's a little bit different with media. Media doesn't have a long time to fully understand what you do, what the call to action is, and sometimes they ask a question that isn't really the right question. It's not their fault. It just really isn't the right question. And so that then you can answer a question that might not be on the mark with, hey, that's a great question, and say what they need to know that runs closest to the question they asked. It makes the host look better and it makes you look better, because the whole flow, the whole vibe, if someone asks you a question that's not relevant, you kind of struggle and stumble, and then the energy in the conversation goes down and it's hard to get it back. So you're doing everyone a favor, but you've got to have those little sound bites, those points you want to make right at hand so that you won't get thrown when they ask something that doesn't necessarily make sense. So any social media gurus in here that have anything to add to how to make the most of your social media? Okay, are you raising your hand, Danielle? No. Okay. All right, very good. For more information, I will also tell you that Global, one of the things that we do is we do have a social media library for you. These are assets that you can go in and you can customize with your own logo, your own messaging. We've got a bunch of different templates for, a focus on members, a focus on grantees, different occasions, holidays, and whatnot. So, and they're very self-explanatory. There are a couple that you could just post as your own, and there are others that you would want to customize with your logo, your information, etc. So know that those resources are available to you. The other thing is follow each other. on whatever social media platforms you use, connect and follow and amplify each other. First of all, sometimes we learn the best social media tricks from one of the chapters. Impact 100 Cleveland is a startup. They have great social media. We have learned a lot from their social media. And I'm sure that you all are also having, you also have questions, and you also have great ways to share those things. Solomon, thank you. What would you like to add or ask?
Wendy, it's a question. Thank you for recognizing my hand. Uh, my question is, we're having a planning meeting next week, and there might be like a few core individuals that will be working with me on this chapter that we're forming. And I'm wondering, would they be able to have login access or permission to do that? How would that work? I mean, do I
Absolutely.
provide a list of names to you and Lori or Haley, or how does that work? Thank you.
Yeah, in fact, most things there was a little time when it was like, if you want this, send it this way. If you want that, send it this way. Now we're sort of saying, send it to all three of us, please. And just be very specific what we need. And this is true for all of you. If you're not yet into the Academy and you're not able to log in on our website, please send us an email. Your name, your title, and by the way, you don't have to be on the board to have access. You can be a member at large. So your board, your title, the chapter, and your email, and then anyone else that you want to include. We then can get you set up. You will get an email saying your request is granted and here's how you access. Please, please, please be sure and look in your spam or junk folder. And if you make the request of us and you don't hear from us, I would say give us a week. Like, we might not get it that first day. But if you have not heard from us in a week, email us and say, I never got the note that tells me I'm in and here's how to join. Because it's a new system. Those of you who might remember, we launched a brand new website last year, and the Impact 100 Academy is brand new. It's video learning, there are assessments, it's loaded with content. The materials library is very robust. And we will be launching an Academy Live that covers how you use that access, what the Academy is like, what Global Connect looks like. And so all of that will be helpful to you. That will be ungated again on our website. When I say gated, what I mean is that Impact 100 Academy, the community forums, and Global Connect, you get there through a login. If it's ungated, it means you don't have to have a login. You can go to our website and simply view the material right from there. And so Understanding the Model is the first ungated course that'll give you an idea of how our courses will look. And then we will do the Academy Live on Understanding Global Connect and Impact 100 Academy, and then the one on the 20th with the McGee Women's Research Institute on the state of women's health. And so those will be ungated, which means you don't need a login. But what we really want is for y'all to have a login, because one of the things that we have is within the Academy, we have this library of resources. And Mary, since you've sent that article, if it isn't already, it will be in the materials library in a course that is relevant to marketing, member recruitment, member retention, And so in some cases, once you're in there and you're taking a course, someone might say, gee, it would be really helpful if you had this document, if you had a run of show for your big reveal. Well, okay, we might have a run of show in there. You all might say, oh, wait a minute, our big reveal is way different. You can submit the run of show for your big reveal so that we have multiples. So you get to share content that you have that works, that you like, even if it's simple, because other people, it might not feel simple. You also can request resources that you don't see. And so I'm not going to overpromise on how quickly we'll create things that we don't already have, but we want to know what you need, and we want to know how we can be helpful. And so please, 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 you can't do any of that unless you're logged in. And I hope I don't have to say out loud that it's free.
I'm going to just add another note. I did put a link in the chat. If you had access to our previous system, which was Impact Manager, that will still work on our current site. If you forgot your password, you can troubleshoot with that too. If you are just registering yourself or you have a small list, you can go ahead and fill out the form. And then if you have a longer list, Solomon, as you're getting ready, you have a longer list, we're happy to put those in for you. But otherwise, if you do not have an account or you're trying to get anybody on your board or in your membership an account, that link that I sent you will have information. You can request an account and we'll go in. A couple of you have already done it and you're already approved just in this chapter chat. So we try and stay up on those as much as we possibly can. And yeah, so you can sign in with your old one or request a new one with that link as well.
Awesome. Okay. Oh my gosh. Time flies when you're having fun. So we've got a couple of other subjects that I don't want to go by. There was a question, have any chapters written a recruitment or a retention strategy document? If they have, we will share it. I'm going to look at Lori. I don't believe we have that. No. But a lot of the best practices that you heard today, including making personal phone calls and personal texts, those are universally done. If you decide to create a strategy document and you want to share it, we would love to share it with the community. Another quick question, quick answer. How did chapters handle the spending and budgets for the chapter? You know, there are capacity building grants that chapters can get if you need to do, buy a piece of software or redo your website, those sorts of things. There are also, you want to find a local donor, Friends of Impact. Those Friends of Impact are always the first source of funds. Just like your friends stand by you and they don't expect anything in return. They believe what you believe and they just want to support you. Friends of Impact have been around since 2001. When you're recruiting, and if someone were to say, I would love to join, but I cannot afford it, and you don't have a scholarship available, well, I really want you to be a part of it. Would you then please be a friend of Impact? Because as a friend, you support our work based on the model. We don't have leftover money when our members join. We pass that right through. And so how we pay for those things, sometimes it's from an individual, sometimes it's from organizations, sometimes it's in-kind gifts. You might work with a local caterer or a local venue who would say, oh gosh, I believe in what you're doing. You also, I think we're all pretty good at finding ways to do the things we want to do. So look at your membership roster. And if somebody works for a company in your area that has like a great meeting space, see if they'll sponsor you. But they're ultimately, you cannot take grant dollars and spend them on administrative expenses. And so you just need to sort through how to get there. And there is no right or wrong way. The other thing is, although I highly discourage you from charging people to come learn about Impact 100, like I would highly discourage you charging for membership recruitment engagement sessions or nonprofit information sessions. But when you do something where you're going to serve food or drinks, charge. Our very first annual awards celebration, people paid and they understood that we didn't have money. We couldn't buy them all dinner. We didn't have money. The money was coming in and it was going right back out. So that's that. Here's another very important conversation. And it was a great, all of these questions are great, y'all. So I thank you. You keep me on my toes. Understanding how other chapters and global are using AI and what do we have AI policies. So global is currently working on AI policy. We do use it at global, but we're very careful. We know also that a number of chapters are kind of figuring out where AI fits in. So a couple of things that we can tell you is you have to be very cautious how you use it, and it is something that you would want to communicate to any of the subcommittees. So grant review teams, for example, you wouldn't want them to upload all the grant documents, the financials, the application, etc., to their favorite AI agent, whether that's Claude, ChatGPT, what's the other one? Gemini and Copilot. Any one of those, and there are many others. You don't want to do that because the way AI agents learn is they learn by the information you give them. And then that becomes public domain. Now, we don't know if it's possible right now. We believe that there might be a setting or a way that you can keep your AI agent from using your material to learn. The tricky part about that is that on a committee, it's not the people on your board. If you tell them how to disable that and how to do it, I'm going to believe that they will do that. But when you get members engaged from all over, some are more tech savvy, some less, a mistake by one is a mistake for your chapter. So these are things you want to be very careful about. Where AI can come in handy is if you feel like I have said this same thing in every newsletter, or I've said this same thing in every membership retention event. You can take the text that you already have, put it into your AI agent of choice, and ask it to, can you reword and refresh this to make it current? Or can you also include that we're going to be at this venue and our goal is 400 members? Whatever it is, you can use it in that way. But whatever you use it for, even if it's content of your own that you're asking it to just polish, you really want to double check and triple check the accuracy. That although they keep getting smarter, you want to be careful because sometimes AI agents get cocky and they make stuff up. I have seen it firsthand where I was working on a speech and I asked it to pull something from another source that it had. And what it spit back at me was like, not from that source. It was literally made up. And when I said to It was ChatGPT. Did you make this up? The answer was yes, I did, and I'm so sorry. So sorry isn't good enough. It's like any other tool in our toolbox. It can be helpful. It also can be a huge distraction. It also can expose us to risk that we may or may not want to take. We'll have better suggestions of guardrails when our policy is finished, and that we will obviously share with the entire global community. If any of you all have already created an AI policy, or you have feelings about that, or you've found an AI policy that you think is effective, please share that with us. We really believe that we are stronger together and that we're smarter together. And so much of what we do and so much of the best practices that we share at Global are because you all are out in the field. You're creating and discovering those best practices, and we are sharing them with others so that we, that rising tide lifts all Impact 100 ships. So that's the idea behind that. I'm not seeing anybody really eager, and we are like 1 minute away from the top of the hour. Someone said that they were here because they want to learn more and maybe join. Welcome. And I'm very glad you're here. Please reach out to Impact 100 Global, and we are happy to talk about it with you, and answer any of your questions, connect you to a local chapter, or help you if you're interested in launching a chapter in your neighborhood. Let's see. One other question had to do with the board of directors and how the voting permits. This is a little bit of a one-off, so I will reach out to the person who asked the question, but broadly, chapter boards, the question is, do chapter boards permit voting by chairperson as well as directors? And the answer is yes. Yes, they do. Customarily, everyone on the board gets to vote, and the chairperson is not like a tiebreaker. And so that is customary. And I think it's important. I think what the chair people do, though, is if you're and this is a chapter that's newly getting ramped up. But if you have to talk about something and you've got a lot of different options, I think your chair or your executive committee or people closest to the information, so it might be a membership chair if it's a membership decision, or a grants chair, or what have you, is you want to really understand what your range of options are based on what other chapters do, what the model tells you you ought to do, any of those things, and come into that board meeting saying, I understand that we could do A, B, or C. And for these reasons, I think we need to go with B. And here's why. Explain why and ask for a vote. Sometimes we find leaders who believe that their leadership is really more of an amplifier to let every voice be heard. And the difficulty can arise that if your team is not being led, then if it's not being led by the leader or leaders, then people start to sort of go off in their own directions. You can have policies that conflict with each other. You can spend a lot of time in meetings that there aren't really 3 options. There are 12 options, or however many people you have on your team. And someone says, I think it should be this way for this, and I think it should be that way. And unless you have a leader who's willing to take a stand and help to guide the group, I I think it makes it difficult for your chapter leaders to come together. Now, what happens if plan B that your leader believes is the right plan? What if the majority of your board disagrees? By all means, you need to have a conversation. This is not, it's not a dictatorship. If your board president believes it should be this and a bunch of others don't, you are going to want that conversation to take place. However, what you don't want is have every decision be a group think without strategic goals in mind, without any guidance from the top of the house. And so I would say, broadly speaking, in this case, the person wanted to go over her bylaws. I think it would be very helpful if you haven't looked at your bylaws for a while and you've been around, look at them and make sure you're still following them. For the chapter that asked this question, we are happy to look at your bylaws with you and sort of walk through how they're written and what the implications are, and how you are doing in practice. And so if we can help in any way, we are here to help, but general guidance as far as her specific question is there. Oh my word. 4 minutes after the hour. I appreciate y'all hanging in there with me. We are at the end of our time together. I hope you'll join us next week, January 20th, for Academy Live. And then we already have chapter chats scheduled through June. So if you haven't already marked your calendars, please do. We love to have you join us and share all of your wisdom as well as your questions. It is a great place to connect with other really smart leaders. So I thank you all. I wish you a very happy new year. Happy 25th anniversary of Impact 100. And thank you for making it so strong, so powerful, and so successful. And here's to what we will do together in this new year. You all take good care and thanks for being here. Bye.